everyone, happy Earth Day and welcome to today's creature feature at Assiniboine Park Zoo. My name is Heather. I am an animal care professional here at the zoo, as well as one of the lead organizers for International Red Panda Day weekend. We also will be meeting Bianca, who later on is going to talk more specifically about red pandas, and if you have questions about our red pandas that we have at the zoo. But first off, I'm going to start talking about red panda conservation. So first of all, what are red pandas? Red pandas are small mammals that are found in South Asia. They live in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains, and they are found in 5 different countries: Bhutan, Myanmar, China, India, and Nepal. When you look at a red panda, you might think that they might be related to raccoons or maybe even the giant panda based on some of their appearance, the way they look. And it was once thought that they were part of the giant panda family, and then it was once thought that they were part of the raccoon family. There was a lot of controversy over this over the years, but they actually did DNA testing, and what they found was that red pandas are this really cool, unique species that actually belong to their very own family, which makes them even more important to protect. Red pandas are an endangered species. It is thought that there could be as few as only 2,500 left in the wild, and that is largely due to climate change as well as habitat loss. They believe that the population of red pandas has declined by about 50% in the last 20 years alone, which is a pretty significant number. Because they're endangered, our red pandas here are part of a species survival plan. And basically what that means is there is a group of people or a committee that monitors the captive population of red pandas really closely and makes recommendations as to which red pandas should be bred together to really encourage a lot of genetic diversity within the captive population. And that could be really important if in the future captive red pandas are possibly needed to help recover the wild population. Some of the major threats that red panda are facing include things like limited food supply. Red pandas have a very specialized diet. Most of their diet is comprised of bamboo in the wild. It actually can make up to 90% of their total diet. And things like habitat loss and climate change are actually making it a lot harder for red pandas to find food. Another one of their big threats, as I mentioned already, is habitat loss due to deforestation. So red pandas are what we call an arboreal species, meaning that they really depend on the trees that they live in. They use those trees to move around. They use them to evade predators, and they will actually even build nests in the trees to give birth to young.
We have a question here. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
We have a question asking what their predators would be in the wild.
Yeah, so they have a few. The big ones are snow leopards and yellow-throated martins, which both can actually also be found at the zoo. Another really big threat to red pandas in the wild is climate change, which is a big threat to all species. Red pandas are a very sensitive species, and what climate change is doing is it is causing more extreme weather patterns, and red pandas are having a really hard time recovering from these really big natural disasters that are happening in the wild. Also, climate change is affecting their food source, so that bamboo that they really depend on, it's making it even harder for them to find bamboo because it's affecting how it's growing and where it's growing. There's a lot of ways that you can help red pandas. One of the big ones is reducing your carbon footprint, and then that not only helps red pandas, but it helps all species. Also, supporting the Red Panda Network. This is a really phenomenal organization that is dedicated solely to the protection and conservation of these species in the wild. It's this really great organization. They do lots of research and conservation initiatives on red pandas, but they also work with the local community. They use what we call a community-based approach. So they do a lot of education awareness. They create curriculums for schools trying to teach the younger generation about red pandas and about red panda conservation. And they actually will employ some of the locals as what they call forest guardians. So teaching them to be stewards of the forests in which these red pandas live to help protect them and also those forests.
Great, thank you so much. I think we're going to move over to Bianca, and she can introduce us to who we are seeing right here.
Hi, everybody. The cutie pie that we're looking at the moment, her name is Crimson, and she's actually one of the red panda that were born here at Assiniboine Park Zoo last summer. So her first birthday is coming up mid-June. So she's not even 1 year old yet. And as you can tell, they grow pretty fast. She's already basically full grown, fully capable of climbing, getting around, doing her own thing. And in the wild, this is at about the age that they would be leaving their parents. And she'd be going off and looking for her own territories and establishing herself as an individual. So that's basically what she's doing. She's just exploring a tree at the moment, and I'm trying not to disturb her too much because I love it when she's just doing naturalistic behaviors, and this is exactly what she should be doing.
Great. A few people are asking, what are you feeding her, and what would they usually eat?
Right now, just to try to keep her attention, I've got a couple of her favorite things, which happen to be some yam, some apple, some pear. But in the wild, these guys, the majority of their diet is actually bamboo, which we do provide them with a number of different kinds of bamboo. It's just a little hard to hand feed that to try to keep her attention. And they would also be looking for other sources of food in the wild. So they would be digging up tubers, which is why things like carrots and yams are a good thing that we can offer them. They will get bits of fruit here and there. And on occasion, they have been known to take a protein source, such as an egg or maybe a small rodent. But generally speaking, I think that's mostly females and when they're pregnant or in breeding season.
We have a few people asking, when is the best time to see these guys active? So I know there's a reason that we're doing this live stream at 10 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock. So can you talk a little bit about their sleeping patterns?
Well, this all kind of revolves around the fact that red pandas are more cold weather critters than warm weather critters. So in the winter months, they can be active most of the day. But as soon as we get those time frames when public are more here, so the summer months is when most of you guys come to visit us, on a hot afternoon, they're going to be napping. They're not going to appreciate that nice sunny day that we love. So you're going to have a lot more luck seeing them active earlier in the morning and later in the evening during those summer months. But this time of year, sort of in these mid-seasons, they tend to take an afternoon nap, usually from about 11 or 12 till about 2-ish, which is why that normal 1 o'clock time frame that we've been doing these chats at probably wasn't going to work very well for these guys.
A few people asking where they sleep, and can we say here at the zoo and in the wild, where would they sleep?
Up in trees. Basically, that's as much detail as I can give you. They find the safest tree that they can find, that they know that they would have an escape route in case they got disturbed at night. And here in our facility, they have a number of favorite sleeping boxes, sleeping platforms, and trees. And they just pick their favorites.
Great. So Heather, we've talked a bit about how they sleep in trees and they are an arboreal species. So how would habitat loss be impacting them in terms of the trees that they would have access to in the wild?
I mean, habitat loss is largely due to deforestation. And what that's doing is it's taking away those very important trees that they need to do all the things like we described, like resting, getting away from predators, giving birth to young. Also, trees are really important for the bamboo that they really depend on. The tree canopy actually protects the bamboo that grows underneath, so it's also really important for their food source.
We have another visitor here. We're going to try to get a shot of him. Bianca, can you tell us who this is?
That is actually Crimson's dad. His name is Tango. He's a little bit shyer of people that he doesn't know, so we're not sure how he's feeling about the camera at the moment. So that might have been a very quick visit. But Tango, he's actually going to be turning 4 this summer. No, my mistake. He's turning 5 this summer. His birthday's in July. He's 4 years old right now.
Can you talk a little bit about the average size of a red panda? And I know that if people see Tango, they might be a little confused about what that average size is.
Tango, not to put too fine a point on it, Tango has a little bit of a badonkadonk on him. But he's also he's an extremely large panda. He's nearly twice the average size of a red panda. And when we looked into his family history, it turns out that his father, it was just as big as him. And all of his children to date have definitely taken after dad's genetics. Generally speaking, a red panda at less than a year old wouldn't be quite as large as Crimson is here. So she's going to be a big girl when she grows up. But generally speaking, I think throughout the years that we've been here, most of our females have been somewhere between about 6 and 7, whereas males tend to be somewhere between about 7 and 8. At Tango's last weigh-in, he was nearly 14. So.
There's a question here asking, they do look so cuddly. Do red pandas kind of cuddle? Sometimes you see the family sort of snuggled up together.
They're not really a very cuddly kind of animal, generally speaking. They spend most of their time alone. They don't live in large groups. Usually if you do see a shot of red pandas in the wild and there's more than one, it's probably because it's either breeding season and it's a male trying to impress a female, or it might be a female with her cubs, because she will keep her cubs with her sometimes up to a year. So that's probably when you'll see groups. But generally speaking, they're by themselves, so you will not see them cuddling. And here in our facility, sometimes you will see more than one trying to sit sort of in the same area. That's usually because it's the preferred area and they're trying to push each other out of that space because one of them wants it more than the other one.
What is a red panda's lifespan in the wild and in captivity?
Sorry, there it is. Try and lose her attention.
Oh.
That's a small piece.
There we go.
She got that one. In the wild, we're probably looking closer to about a dozen years or so. They don't tend to have a lifespan terribly long, but in captivity, they've been up into their 20s. So of course, there's no, cap on that. We hope that we take fantastic care of them and they live as long as we possibly can get them.
Okay, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Crimson is trying to balance on the tiniest little twigs.
Yes,
How far will she go before she realizes that she's too big for those?
Oh, she'll probably keep trying. And actually, I love the fact that she's doing that and you guys get to see that, because it might help to identify and show you guys that long fluffy tail that they have. It's actually fantastic for balance. So when she's trying to get onto those itty bitty twigs, she's using that tail to help balance herself so she doesn't fall over. And it is one of the things that they can do to get away from predators. They can often get into much smaller branch areas of a tree than one of their predators might be able to follow them at. So they might be able to use that to their advantage.
Great. A couple people asking, I know we sort of talked to this right at the beginning, but what other animals are red pandas related to?
Currently, they are the only known living member of their family. So on the earth today, they are the only member of that family. So doubly, triply important that if these animals were to go extinct, it's not just a species that no longer exists, it would be an entire family of animals that is no longer on this earth. And that would just be incredibly sad.
Great. A question here from Jackie, another member of our animal care team. What is your favorite thing about red pandas? And that's for both of you.
Why do we get the tough questions? Do you want to take that one, Heather? What's your favorite thing about a red panda?
It's such a simple question, and yet it often stumps me. I mean,
Everything.
I love everything about red pandas. I mean, they're really cute to look at. They're really fun to work with. But I think what I love the most about them is just how unique they are and how important, what a great ambassador they are for their species in the wild. And they have just such an important story to tell. And I mean, look at them. They're just adorable.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the fact that they can remind so many people about so many other animals. So we get a lot of questions about them, and it gives us a lot of avenues to explore why they're kind of similar to other animals and be able to discuss that with people. And yeah, I mean, the fact that they're one of the cutest things on the face of this earth doesn't hurt.
They're so cute they don't even look real sometimes.
I might sound a bit strange when I say this, but I've said this before. To me, the very first time I saw a red panda live, if I thought magic existed, I would think a sorcerer brought a stuffed animal to life. They're just too cute to, be walking around a forest, but they do.
So we know that they are insanely cute. Why does that make them a good ambassador for their wild counterparts and for their ecosystem and habitat as a whole?
I mean, it's similar to, I guess, my story with red pandas, coming here, working at the zoo, and just falling in love with them. Initially because they are so adorable, but then falling in love with them for other reasons. It just makes you that much more passionate about wanting to help the species in the wild. And that's sort of one of the main points of having them in human care, is hoping that people come fall in love with them and want to make a difference for the species and do anything that they can to try and help the species in the wild. I don't know if you have anything to add, Bianca.
No, I think you got that. I think you got that one.
A couple people asking, how many babies would a red panda usually have?
Generally speaking, we see one, but twins is not at all uncommon. They actually have 2 uteri, so they can have 2 babies quite easily.
Great. Okay.
And I don't know if you guys were able to notice this while she's been eating. I was hoping to get her a nice big piece to show, but she kind of looks like she's holding on to her food sometimes. And it's just a really interesting way you guys might be able to see. She has a modified wrist bone that she kind of uses the way that we would use a thumb. It's anatomically different, but she kind of uses it that same way. And I think it's one of the coolest things about red pandas because it allows them to hold on to things while they're pulling their bamboo towards them, that sort of thing, while they're eating. But it actually means that they can actually use that and rotate the bones in their wrists, and they can actually climb head first down a branch or a tree. So they're just, I don't know, just one more way that I think red pandas are just phenomenal. Hello, are you trying to get my attention, beautiful?
A few people asking, are the red pandas here friendly with people, friendly with their animal care team, and do they have a favorite person on their animal care team?
They are tolerant of those with food. It's not that they want to hang out with us. It's not that if we were just in a great big open space that they would come running and want to spend time with us. But we have spent a lot of time building up relationships with them so that they know that they can trust us and so that we can do training with them. So not friendly in the way that you might think your cat or your dog is. Hello, beautiful girl. But definitely aware when we might have something yummy to offer them.
As we can see now.
As we can see. But the second that she realizes that I have no more goodies, she's going to go off and just do panda things. And she's not going to want to hang out with me. But in the wild, all they would want to do is get away from us. So if you take that comparatively, friendly is probably an okay term to use.
Great. Is there anything else either of you want to add about red pandas before we wrap up?
That is a dangerous question. I could talk for about 3 hours on red pandas. But I think that we have given our viewers a lot to mull over already, and hopefully lots of questions that they can ask us when the zoo reopens.
Great.
And also, if you want to learn anything more about red pandas, the Red Panda Network has a really great website, redpandanetwork.org. Also, we host International Red Panda Day weekend every year here at the zoo. Lots of great interactive activities, and it just focuses on education awareness, but also fundraising opportunities that you can help support the Red Panda Network.
Great. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next Monday and Wednesday with more creature features. Have a nice Earth Day.